back once again, champions. We're here looking at account progression, blue diamond spending for PostT4. In part 3, we're going to take a look at Awakening, which is the newest, the newest option for investment PostT4. Until then, it was the previously discussed in parts 1 and 2. And Awakening really has been a game changer. It's just such a massive amount of a return on investment that it's something that needs to be looked at heavily before you even start thinking about the others. So let's get into it. And there's a massive spending preface, like depending on what you spend, of course, you're going to have different options on who you can awaken. And there is a pretty massive difference between pay-to-win commanders awakened and free to play. But in saying that, both are still very feasible options and both are still really nice returns on investments. So you've got a few different options for spending blue diamonds, because once again, of course, you're going to get some of these materials through general tasks throughout the day. So you don't have to spend necessarily blue diamonds on, for example, a random book of wisdom. You can get 2x15 from the VIP shop. It is an option. It's not a terrible option, but you also don't need to unless you're pushing to get something done that you don't have the books for. The two options for tokens is Elite, you can get 20 of for 2,000, and the Epic, which you can pick up 5 for 5,700. So there's a pretty big difference in cost there. In saying that the pay-to-win are good returns, they're still a lot more expensive than the free-to-play. And the other option is you can just straight up buy an unlimited amount of books directly from the Awakening system itself. So if we switch over to my account here, I've opted to 4-star Seg, who is a pay-to-win commander in the sense he is one of the cheapest if you do it over a long period of time. But he is the only pay-to-win commander that takes the elite tokens rather than the epics, which makes him an option to do alongside some pay-to-wins with ones you generate through Weirwood and such. The hidden abilities is, you're looking at a fair amount of stats. Now that's 4-star, sure, like it's, of course, you're going to say, well, the more you put in, the more you're going to get out. And that is very true. But it's not as if there isn't a real benefit to progressing them slowly even. So Chris is somebody that I will eventually awaken fully. I just haven't gotten around to it yet. But even as he stands, if we go to the Awakening view, even now, I'm getting 12%, 10.5, really with only spending books and some tokens. When you go over to the pay-to-win, you're getting substantially more, sure, but this is, again, 3-star compared to 2. So hidden ability, you're looking at 28, 26, 26 is a pretty massive upgrade, as well as the specialization upgrade at 3-star max. So 1.6 times the original 30% gives you 48, 48, 48. So if you do go to 3-star at least, it is a huge boost to stats. And it does cost. We'll just take a look at that now. But I think it's well worth the cost, actually. There's very little else that's going to return such a great deal. So by looking at this here, we can basically see I've compared Chris and Andrea, since they're sort of, comparable but free to play and pay to win. And then we've got Seg and Annie for the same reason, both totals. Now, as said, Seg is a pay-to-win commander, but he uses the elite tokens, so I thought it was just an interesting way to the cost difference between elites and epics. So each of them here, we've got the cost for 3-star and the total cost if you want to get it all the way to 4-star. We've got their stats initially and their specialization increase, your hidden abilities that you'll get from it, and the total post-awakening stats. So the total gain for Chris, for example, is 36% inf attack from his 30 to 66, 36. If you buy every book, which you're not going to do, and if you buy every token, which you're not going to do. So again, worst case scenario, you're still only looking at about 26,000 blue diamonds per percentage. Now, when you compare that to, say, the badge, depending on what level you're going for, from and to, I really think that Awakening's probably one of the better options for investment. Andrea, same thing. If you're looking at 3-star level rather than 4, if you buy everything, at 62,000 per percent at 62.59, keeping in mind that it's not like you're paying 62 for that, 62 for that, and 59 for that. You're paying, say the highest there is 62. So you're paying 62 for 3% stats in reality. So again, compared to even an epic upgrade to legendary, it's just a massive amount of stats for not all that much diamonds. It does take time, it does take some grinding, there is some options to bring down the costs, but even if you look at the worst case of just buying it all, it's still a pretty good option. So I would say out of everything, my pick is Awakening. There's some caveats to that, like, of course, Awakening commanders only helps if you're using those commanders. So you want to have your, plan in place of what you're going to be using in what situations, and if awakening them is going to be helpful. You don't want to just awaken every commander thinking, well, that gives me stats, because if you're not using them, it doesn't give you anything. But for a team of 5, you can still fit 5 commanders in a team. Probably going to have a couple of different teams for different setups. So, potentially awakening 5 to 10 commanders isn't going to be a bad thing for you. And it's just going to be stat increase after stat increase. It does take time, but if you stick to it, it's well worth it. And every step along the way, you're still getting some increase. Alrighty, that pretty well ties us up, guys. Hopefully you did check out part 1 and 2, which was Dragon Skills and Badges. Both are options, but I think as a final conclusion and recommendation, I would probably say the Dragon Skills can be done over a longer period of time at a smaller investment rate and still achieve good results. The gold skills that you have in the meantime can always be fed into the reds when you do get them, and the increase, while it is an increase, isn't so significant that I think it's worth pushing them at an accelerated rate. Badges is definitely an option, and it's definitely a good option, at least until Epic. After Epic, you really do need to consider it more heavily. It is a large investment for what isn't necessarily a huge return in comparison to Awakening. I think now that Awakening is here, it is the best investment opportunity, provided you're Awakening commanders that you're actually going to use, whether it be in your attacking teams, on your wall, whatever the case may be. As long as you are using the commanders, then you really can't go wrong. As far as miscellaneous investment goes, there's a couple of different options. There's banners for glory buildings, which is definitely a good option. The glory buildings need to be done eventually, and occasionally you'll find, especially towards the end, that you're just not going to generate enough through events and such. Friendship chests for tavern buff is also an option. I wouldn't necessarily say it's the best option, but it's definitely something you can look at, as well as most things from the VIP shop that give you some sort of return in account progression. They are all options. Alright guys, hope you enjoyed, and I'll catch you next time.